Jews got very close by. Except there's this strange malignancy now that seems to creep among them. I don't know, radicalism. I can imagine how the fact that Ellsworth must really tear the whole life to pieces or garment. Just like the Rosenbergs and all that. That just has to kill them. You feel horrible about it.
Could be done by Beaver Smith.
Right? Would have been a Rosenstein that changed his name.
It is right. It's always an Ellsberg or
everyone's a Jew. Ellsberg, Rosenberg.
Why is it that you find what he's saying amusing? What? What do you mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? It's psychotic. It is literally verbatim one-to-one Nazi shit. It is like, I don't know what to say about it. It's basically a further confirmation of everything I say all the fucking time. That Republicans have basically continued that exact same fascist tradition, okay? Which, like, I would say even Democrats as well. Like, the American government broadly has continued the same fucking fascist tradition, okay? It's just that the aesthetics are different.
But there are bad disciplines. So that proves.
They're playing Name the Jew. The problem is the they that we're talking about here is the motherfucking president at the time. Okay? Hasan really seems to resent the United States. Oh my God, dude. That's your takeaway? What is it that you think you know better than the president of that time? Are you fucking... Bro, this is literally like being like, well, Adolf Hitler, do you think you know better than he did at the time? The fuck do you mean? I know better than the president of this time too. Please tell me you're trying to bait like literally 12 minutes before the top of the hour. You cannot be defending Richard Nixon in the chat, right? Especially in like one of the surprisingly even more indefensible moments of Richard Nixon. Like this is uniquely bad even for Richard Nixon.
Very interesting thing. So few of those who engage in espionage.
Okay, these guys are baiting, right? There's a lot of like weirdo fucking anti-Semites in here today. What's happening? Like, what's going on? There's like hella people in here that are just like, oh, well, was he wrong though? Yes, dude. Yes, he was. He was wrong. No, I don't think that like Jews are monolithic in their approach or they control the media or that they're all fucking descendants of the synagogue of Satan. Yeah, why did these pigs say that the German Jews had a complete stranglehold over a number of industries, meaning they were the capitalists, and at the same time claimed Judeo-Bolshevism existed? It doesn't have to make sense. Our enemy is both weak and strong at the same time. It is. I'll bring it back to a place that you guys understand. You know how a lot of my haters will literally be like, "Oh, Hasan never donates," right? And then, but I do. So then when I do, they'll turn around and say, oh, he just did it for PR. He did it for clout. It's because the reason why, like the foundational disagreement has nothing to do with my actions. It's just pure resentment. They're just trying to make it stick by any means necessary. And that's how anti-Semitism is as well. In this case, they're both simultaneously saying Jews are, defenders of Judeo-Bolshevism, defenders of like socialist, communist moral degeneracy and rot and yada, 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 while simultaneously saying they also control all the media and also all of the banks. It doesn't have to be true, and it is not. It's just a way to make your resentment stick. Also, the Synagogue of Satan sounds badass as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it does low-key kind of go hard. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they were saying this behind closed doors, but like it sounds incredible. It sounds dope. But that's like, you know, that's besides the point. I know that they didn't imply it in a dope way, but it is kind of cool to be like, yeah, we are descendants of Synagogue of Satan. But yeah. Ultimately, it doesn't come from like real valid anger and real valid criticisms. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's more so post hoc rationalizations for why you carry this resentment to begin with. You have detailed Jews as the out-group. So now you will say that they are both capital owners who control all of the different institutions and instruments of capitalism, and you will also simultaneously say they want socialism and they are actually anti-capitalist. Both. Anyway, let's continue.
Very few of them become communists. If they do, they get an Angela Davis. They're more of the activist type.
As a matter of fact, very few of them become communists. If they do, they're more likely to get into Angela Davis. They're more the activist type, and they throw bombs and this and that. But
and they throw bombs and this and that. But the Negroes, if you ever notice, there's an anti-Negro spies. They're not intellectual enough. Not smart enough. They're not smart enough.
a little bit of anti-black white supremacist resentment there too. You know, you got to put that in there.
Spies, the Jews are born spies. You know somebody that just in it, what's up to their necks. The basic deviousness that also inherits.
Bro, this is literally just Hitler, okay? Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I have to show you some of this fascist propaganda. I wanted to show you something very funny. Nathan Tankis went to the closed screening of The Commandant's Shadow last night, where he had by far the most disturbing experience was the Auschwitz commandant Rudolf Höss's grandson, Kai Höss, and his Christian evangelism for Israel. Okay? If you want to understand where we're at, if you want to understand where Germany's vibes are at, there's two videos I want to show you. One is like the liberal rich Germans also chanting the Germany for Germans only shit. Okay? And the other video is this. Here, let's help you get it a little bit. This is the guy, this is the grandson of the dude who was prominently featured in Zone of Interest. Rudolf Höss. Okay? Let's see what he had to say about Israel.
Have a moment.
Sure you can, of course.
Or the ramp. Is that better? Yeah, the ramp in the back.
I commend you on taking on your grandfather's legacy, and not legacy, but facing it.
I understand what you're saying.
But I find listening to you very, very concerning. Because it feels to me, as a grandchild of Holocaust survivors, that you've replaced a Nazi anti-Semitism with a Christian evangelical anti-Semitism about defined going to...
I think you misunderstood
I don't think I misunderstood.
Well, you know, I love Israel because I know they're God's people.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that is a form of anti-Semitism. Christian evangelical.
He said, I love Israel because they are God's chosen people. You don't understand it. You don't understand.
Anti-Semitism. Have a moment.
Sure.
It was shocking just being in the room with Rudolph Hess's grandson, let alone confronting him. I was my dad's +1, and neither of us realized beforehand. I'm still processing it. There were also many disturbing things about the event, including that it was acquired on October 9th. The panel was very clear this documentary was explicitly meant to counter discussions of Israel's genocide without actually mentioning Palestinians. The movie literally opens and closes with Rudolph Hess's son and grandson in an Israeli desert with Kai Huss providing Israel voiceover. Compare what Kai Huss had to say to what Billy Graham had to say behind closed doors. Kai Huss knows that he should never say synagogue of Satan about Jews like me who reject Israel, but it's fundamentally the same worldview. It's from the Nixon tapes. Nixon explains how Israeli Jews are the best Jews. They both agree that Jews control the media. Billy Graham explains the synagogue of Satan and how Jews had a stranglehold on Germany, but Hitler went about it wrong.
What does this mean? Does it mean that all Jews are bad? No. But it does mean that most Jews are left-wing, particularly the younger ones like that.
I love that they're literally just repeating exactly what the Nazis believed and basically saying, no, you don't understand. Like, all Jews, they go to Israel and that's fine. And they're great. They're great over there. Okay. Not here. Because when they're here, a lot of them like this commie shit. Okay. And I don't like it. They are literally repeating Judeo-Bolshevism as a propaganda point because they legitimately believe it. Okay? And they're not technically wrong. Historically speaking, yes, Jews have sided with justice. They have, in many instances, been open socialists and communists. So they're not wrong when they say that. Obviously, they're wrong in a monolithic understanding of it, which they're not even particularly saying. It is wild. It is wild. Here, let's see. They're radical socialists. They're radical commies.
The only and this is the reason. The best Jews actually.
Added to the mountain of evidence that anti-communism is inherently fascist? Of course it is. Wow, I wonder why the Jews in Russia were more in favor of the socialists than the czarists in Russia. Exactly. The best Jews are actually the Israeli Jews.
They are the Israeli Jews. That's right. Because Israel, and the reason Mrs. Mayer supports me, which she does, and Diane does too, is for a very fundamental reason. It has nothing to do with, they know these Democratic candidates will be catering to the domestic Jewish vote. But she supports me. Because she knows the great danger to Israel is Russia. And she knows that in the crisis involving Jordan, that I face the Russians downfall. She knows I'm the only one who will do it. She knows that a Democrat gave with the communists to the Russians. See, that's the point. She's talking. We talked about this. Rabin's the same way. Rabin, of course, is a Russian Jew. Boy, does he know them. Now, however, in this country, we must be under no illusion. You're aware of that, aren't you? You're aware of the fact that in the media, we confront almost a solid block of people. They don't, it isn't the alien that he's the point of the thing. They're after him because he took the whole thing on. And it has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It happens so that insofar as the media is concerned, the power of the media,
They've got it.
They've got it.
He's like, yeah, the Jews control the media. Oh, man. Also, the Nixon Jew count of July 1971 is the name given to then President of the United States, Richard Nixon's attempts to demote and remove Jews from the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
And they're the ones putting out the pornographic stuff and putting out everything.
Directly. By the way, this is exactly, when I say this is verbatim what the Nazis believed, okay, with the exception of Israel because it didn't exist back then, this is word for word what the Nazis believed and said, bar for bar. Now, you might be shocked and say, but that's Richard Nixon. And that seems quite similar to like cultural Marxism and, you know, George Soros propaganda and many other things that right-wingers repeat on a regular basis nowadays. And you would be right, because it is. It is just saying the exact same shit while simultaneously changing the narrative a little bit, massaging it a little bit so that it fits modern sensibilities. Just something to consider.
I don't know why they do.
You see, the Bible makes a distinction, Mr. President, between two groups of Jews. One is called the synagogue of Satan.
Yeah. You hit that, you know it, but our Burns is Jewish.
Yes.
It's nevertheless, the Bible says there are two different kinds.
There are two different kinds. And those people, in the latter days, it's called the remnant of God's people, which will be Jewish people.
Yeah.
And then there's the synagogue of Satan. And nearly all of your religious deceptions in the latter days, what the Bible speaks, latter days will be 1,000 years.
This is cool, man. I just want to also point out another thing. There's a reason why we never look at this kind of stuff, because when we live in America, we have a way to understand Christianity and Christian fundamentalism and separate that from like Christianity across the board. There's a reason why these incredibly powerful people are having this conversation in private, and no one will think that like these are mullahs, okay, who are operating on fundamentalism, and America is demonstrably like a Christian fundamentalist fascist nation. The reason why we don't view this conversation in the same vein as like an Iranian mullah is because of our monolithic understanding, Islamophobia in general, our monolithic understanding of our enemies, or of marginalized communities in general, or, you know, countries that we have dished out a lot of violence to. Whereas in the United States of America, where we live, we of course recognize that this is not representative of every single American. Just so you understand. Although, all things considered, if you were to operate on the same fucking boundaries that you, the same smoke that you have for, I guess, Islam, the Islamic world in general, as an Iranian, are you saying that the mullahs are good? You have to literally be the most delusional person on the planet if you are thinking that I'm saying the mullahs are good when comparing them to Richard Nixon. You are basically reinforcing the exact same point that I've made time and time again. A lot of people operate on the boundaries of, well, you know, America's good ultimately. No, when I compare a foreign adversary to America, that is the worst comparison I could make for said foreign adversary. Okay? I'm saying it's bad. I'm saying that in many instances, it is no different. And in this circumstance, it is no different than the Islamic fundamentalism demonstrated by those in positions of power in the Muslim world. As an Iranian, yes, but also liberalism aesthetics require one to hide the nutty parts of religion. Mullahs don't hide it because they're not liberal. Yes.
What they call the synagogue of Satan. In other words, they are energized by a supernatural power called the devil. This is what the Bible teaches, whether you believe it or don't believe it. This is the biblical teaching, and this is what I believe. And I believe that they have a strange brilliance about them.
What the fuck was that? These Jews, they have a strange brilliance about them.
They have a strange brilliance about them. They're smart, and they are energized, in my judgment, by a supernatural power.
Well, also they do something else, but they're not only smart, they're
and you see, of course, Hitler didn't. They had a stranglehold on Germany, on the banking of Germany, on everything in Germany, and the media. They had the whole thing.
That's so funny. Oh God. It's like the Japanese believing in Jew magic, so they wanted the Jews to on their side. It's a little bit of column A, column B, where they're like they're basically saying that like fascist Jews in Israel are the good Jews, And the anti-fascist Jews here in America are satanic Jews that control the media and degenerate Western supremacist, the Western culture and Western civilization. So for the domestic Jews, they have the same exact smoke that Hitler had. It's like if the Havara Agreement actually turned into reality, basically. Okay? That's it. That's like that is basically the mentality that they have. If the Havara Agreement worked and Hitler was like, yeah, you know what, instead of like killing all the Jews, we're just going to ship them forcibly to Israel. Okay? Then in that situation, it's like basically the exact same attitude that these guys have, because they're like, our domestic Jews are degenerate pornographers that are, doing unlimited immigration into America in an effort to displace white Americans, white supremacist Americans, right? So we got to ship them off so they can all become fascist Jews in Israel and then be the good kind of Jew.